cruise news time, and you guys think I write some salacious headlines. Check this one out. Cruise tragedy. Brit granddad, 76, drops dead at dinner table in front of horrified wife on luxury cruise of a lifetime in Hawaii. That's the headline. And oddly enough, I was going to say that's not the worst part of the story. That is the worst part of the story, but there's still a bad part of the story. Also, the CDC is back. Guess who's back? The CDC is back inspecting cruise ships because they're worried about gastrointestinal illness. They're worried about, they got a poop score for cruise ships. Do you need more cruise news and my views? Let's talk about it. Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to La Lido Loca. I'm your host, Tony, here with the latest cruise news and views for your face for Tuesday. And look, yes, I'm not in the brand new studio because I can't get that thing to stop reverbing and echoing. And as I'm saying that, I bet you this room's reverbing. I'm having reverb and echoing nightmares, but I'm running out of time. And so I got to give you the cruise news today. The cruise news story, the one that I was talking about, a horrible story. You've got a guy and his wife. They've been married for 35 years, 76 years old. He goes on a cruise to Hawaii, and at the MDR at dinner, he dies. He collapses. They're unable to revive him. They give him medical attention, and he doesn't come back. Now, the other bad part of the story is they can't get his body home. It costs 35,000 pounds to get him home. He has a $30,000 medical bill and a $5,000 funeral bill, and his family can't pay it. So they're out doing the rounds on social media and talking to the media with a GoFundMe or some sort of fundraising thing, trying to get money to bring this guy's body back to the UK. Of course, the dying is the worst thing. The unable to get the body back and pay your medical bill, that's bad too. And then what's even worse maybe is that the guy tried to have travel insurance, but because of an error, he did not have travel insurance for the day that he died. He goes on vacation, he gets through customs, and then he realizes that the insurance that he purchased had the wrong dates on it, and he would not be covered for the days that he was going to be traveling. He notified his insurance company, he notified his son, and he was going to have to shell out another 850 pounds to get his insurance updated. And well, they decided not to do it. The son said, just go, have a good time, chill out, hopefully nothing bad happens. And well, something bad happened. And so now, instead of paying $850 to update his travel insurance, the family's trying to come up with 35,000 dollars. Put it in whatever currency you want. It's the $850 is much smaller than 35,000. And so every time we have a story like this, I always say, make sure you get your travel insurance. And then every time I say, make sure you get your travel insurance, I always get 3 sets of comments. I'll get comments about how travel insurance saves somebody's bacon, how somebody, they needed the travel insurance, and the fact that they had it, it saved them tens of thousands of dollars. Or I get stories from people on how they've been on numerous cruises without insurance, and it just seems like a waste of money. And then I always get the question, which travel insurance that I use. I still contend that having the travel insurance is the right way to go. I've been on 42 cruises. I pay for travel insurance for every cruise. I've never needed it. Is that a waste of money? I don't think it is. Nothing is a problem until it is a problem. I would rather spend $200 a cruise than try to come up with $35,000 at one time when something goes wrong. Now, I guess we could run the math on that. If $35,000 is what I may expect to have to pay at one time, it does look like I could go on 175 cruises, spending $200 at a time before I've spent $35,000. But certainly it's easier to outlay $200 at a time than to pay $35,000 at once. Either way, get the insurance. Now, what insurance do we recommend? I don't really recommend any insurance. We use Alliance. We have an annual plan with Alliance. It's the cruise insurance that I've used the most. I've never had to file a claim. I don't really have any insight on what their claim process is. I have heard from multiple people positive encounters with Alliance, positive getting your money from Alliance. So that's who I use. And really the thing is, you got to figure the insurance out for yourself. It's that important. You got to understand what kind of medical coverage you need, what kind of emergency evacuation coverage that you need. You got to decide whether you want it to pay if your trip gets canceled. There's a lot of decisions to make when it comes to insurance. Again, that's why I cannot be prescriptive. But Alliance, that's who I have used in the past. This is a sad and tragic story, of course. Our thoughts and prayers go to the family that have suffered this loss. I hold to the old adage is blessed are those who mourn, they will be comforted. So I'm praying for comfort for this family, anybody impacted by this death. And then for the rest of you guys, I'm just shaking you around a little bit. If you're somebody that doesn't use travel insurance, you may want to consider it, or you may want to roll the dice. But remember, when you need it, that's when it's going to be too late. So hopefully these folks can raise the funds to get the body back from Hawaii and go on with the rest of their lives. Now, before I talk about cruise ships and the CDC and their poop score, I made that up, poop score. I'm going to trademark that. Poop score. Let me give you a little bit of a life update. Let me talk to you about my Sunday night adventure. Date night with the lovely Jenny B. We went to Side Splitters Comedy Club in Tampa, Florida. This is a club that celebrated their 30th anniversary this year. So they've been in business since 1993. Which is wild because I feel like that's somewhat after the 1980s comedy boom, but it's a legit comedy club. I mean, there's a lot of famous people that have walked through those doors there, and it was a great room. And we went and saw Andrew Dice Clay, obscene, vulgar, disruptive, offensive comedian from the 1980s and the early 90s. And man, he was funny. He was still all those things. He was still vulgar and offensive. And, he closed with nursery rhymes. If you know, you know. But I did not stop laughing. I don't know what the laughs per minute were. I've seen some standards in stand-up comedy, like if you're trying to be formulaic about it, maybe 5 or 6 laughs per minute. It was nonstop laughter. The opening act, Eleanor, hilarious. Dice was hilarious. He did an hour and 20 minutes, and it was nonstop laughter. We had the best seats in the house. We were dead center to the stage, but we were about 2 or 3 tables back. So we did not get picked on, and we just had a wonderful time. So my endorsement, big thumbs up for Dice, but you got to like Dice, right? So if Dice was not your thing in the 80s or 90s, Dice is not going to be your thing here in the 2000s either, but he actually toned down a little bit. But it was very, very entertaining. Now, let's talk about the CDC and a cruise ship's poop score. Did you know that before the pandemic that the CDC had their nose all up in the cruise line's business? And their nose was all up in the cruise line's business because the cruise lines, well, they're a part of a voluntary program called the Vessel Sanitation Program. And while the Vessel Sanitation Program, I'll throw it up on the screen, is a program that was developed by the CDC that's a voluntary program for cruise lines to participate in, where the CDC will inspect cruise ships to determine their gastrointestinal illness, preparedness, or cleanliness, or readiness, that kind of thing. And so they send inspectors on board, and basically at the end of the day, they get a poop score. That's, again, my terminology. 0 being the worst poop score, and, 100 being the best poop score. And so this happened prior to the pandemic, and as I heard stories about norovirus last week and other stories, I was curious as to whether the Vessel Sanitation Program was back in full swing, and sure enough, there are cruise ships that have inspection scores in the last 12 months. I'm going to show you the cruise ships that had the 100% poop score in the last 12 months. And while it should be no surprise, one cruise line, Disney, has multiple ships on this list. But what may be surprising is there's a couple big cruise lines, a couple of the big 4, Carnival, Royal, Norwegian, MSC, a couple of the big 4 that don't have ships on the list that have 100% poop score. Can you guess which cruise lines those are? Here's the list. Disney Wonder, Carnival Panorama, Disney Magic, Wonder of the Seas, Carnival Magic, Disney Wish, Royal Caribbean Symphony of the Seas, Viking Star, and Mein Schiff 1. Those are the cruise ships that have had 100% scores from the Vessel Sanitation Program in the last 12 months. Missing from the list, Norwegian Cruise Line and MSC. And because Norwegian Cruise Line is missing, I went and looked up the inspection score for my very next cruise ship, the NCL Prima. And that score was interesting, and I would love to share it with you. But first, let me quickly invite you to subscribe. Would you like staying up to date with everything that's going on in cruising? Please consider subscribing with the notification bell on. That way you don't miss out on any of the episodes. The score for the NCL Prima was a 97. So yeah, I feel good about that poop score. Looking forward to seeing the level of cleanliness on board. If you want to go check out the score for your cruise ship, I will leave a link in the description. You can pop on over there. You can search by cruise line. You can search by cruise ship. It's real easy peasy, lemon squeezy. If you want, go into the comments and tell me what your next cruise ship is and what score it got. How's that for a little bit of homework? Thank you so much for checking out the show today. I sure hope you enjoyed it. And you could show that you enjoyed it by hitting the like-o buttano. And all you got to do is just click it with your mouse. Hit the like button. And look, unfortunately, if you do not hit the like button, I will be forced to punish you. And your punishment is this. If you do not hit the like button on your very next cruise, someone will be watching you closely. And every time you do not wash your hands after using the restroom or wash your hands before you eat dinner, you will be deputized into the washy-washy squad, and you will have to do forced washy-washy squad cruise ship community service. Every day, you'll have to get up at 6 a.m. when the buffet opens, and you will be the washy-washy person. Washy-washy, washy-washy. I don't even know what the washy-washy song is, but you can avoid all that. Hit the like button. It's Tony for La Lido Loca. Until the next time, we'll see you on the Lido. Bye!